What's up, everyone? It's Area of Effect with another out-of-the-box build. I know it's been a while since I've posted, since before the DK update, and I've got this one and a few more ready to release, as long as I don't do my ADHD thing. But look, this one, the Knight of Spellscar version 2, is so much fun, so animated, extremely powerful, especially with the new Dragon Knight updates, the whip and everything going into it. But this build is almost everything that you do as far as damage ends up being a heal. And you know, as the clips featured, there was a couple of different options, and I got better with the build as I played. But that's all it's all part of the process. But anyway, before we jump into the stat screen, check out this toxic little, I guess, non-American. He killed me and called me a sad little American. But anyway, revenge is always the best when done silently. Look at all his whispers, but my whisper is in fact just death. But enough of this. Let's move forward with some positivity and jump into the stat screen. I can't wait. All right, jumping into the stat screen, we got 40 kills, 3 deaths, and wait, wrong stat screen. Jumping into the stat screen, we got over 30,000 max health. Resources are decent, around 20, but our recoveries are both over 2k. 45, actually, weapon and spell damage goes up higher than that. We didn't have minor brutality buffed there. And the penetration will go up with the breach of Vadistrands. And 40, almost 44% crit. So decent stats to work with, but not the craziest stat screen you'll ever see. But the dots and the damage and the burst is where it's at. And some of the proc sets. So Jewels of Misrule, if you got Smoked Bear, use that instead. You get a little more bang for your buck, but if you're broke like me, you use Jewels. Subclass build, we are Dragon Knight Ardent Flame, Dragon Knight Earthen Heart, and Sork Stormcalling classes. And we'll jump into why and how how we're using these and how we came up with this. There's so much healing back to you on this build through Crit Surge and Burning Embers. But we are an Orc, max stam 1000. Can't go wrong with stamina. PvP, Unflinching Rage, max health 1000. And every time you deal damage every 4 seconds, almost 2200 health back to you, just constant, like a passive heal. I love that. And Swift Warrior, weapon and spell damage 258, and sprint, cost, and speed buffs there to keep us very mobile. I like the Orc in PvP. I say it all the time, but you don't have to be an Orc. You could be whatever class you'd like. Now, we are using the tripods just for the main 3 resource recoveries, and also the buffs that go with them to just keep our resources and sustain always going. Jumping into the gear now. On the front bar, Vadistran's Perfected Lightning Staff. We got it as precise because there's a lot of breach with the additional penetration there, and of course the skill itself used with this is breach, major breach. So with this skill we're getting about 13k penetration, but we're also throwing out minor breach with fossilize, so we're at like 16k pen. Anyway, you could go sharpened if you want there or something else, but I like to use the precise on the Vadistrand. Now when you cast this, you're going to create a tether. It's going to give the enemy every 7.5 seconds the 3 status effects, but also create a line that between you and that source tether point will create a dot that affects everybody. So just a nice damage over time. All 3 elements. Everything in this build is about the 3 elements, and I think this is the best way I've ever done it. I've done it a few times if you guys have watched my channel, but this is the best version. Alambris. Now, when you deal flame or shock, 33% chance to summon a meteor shower that deals flame and shock damage at the area. This is constantly, especially with Force Shock, which delivers flame and shock. So every time you hit Force Pulse, you got a 66% chance. But you might think, why use this? If you're in PvP and the targets are not going to remain stationary, and this is a stationary proc. Yeah, you're gonna lose some. They're gonna move out of it. But to be honest, with corrosive and some other, fossilize and some of the other things we're doing, you can often get them trapped in that, and you'll see it in the clips. Or if they don't want to stay in it, they got to move out of it. It's just, I don't know. I feel like it helps give you control of the battlefield, and it's a double dot there. So look at that. Between the Vadistrand and Alambris, just alone, we've got a lot of flame and lightning going on at the same time. Our first 5-piece set, Winterborn, Magicka Recovery, weapon and spell damage, and then when you deal damage with a frost damage ability, which will be Force Shock as well, you're going to summon a pillar that deals 6,000, and this could crit damage to all enemies in a 3-meter area and snare them. So with one cast of Force Shock, you're going to proc Alambris, and you're going to proc Winterborn, flame, see right there, lightning, and frost, all with one cast, let alone the damage done with the cast itself. Then you have what you see in front of me is the cone from the lightning cone from Auroran's Thunder, which is on our other bar. So there's by the way, just to see the winter stalagmite by itself, because it's always kind of caught up visually with the Alambris. There's so much going on, so much visual animated like lightning and flame and just effects going on that it's hard to see. But yeah, anyway, there it was. It just popped. It goes right up their butt. You know, they can't avoid it. Anyway, the second 5-piece set, Auroran's Thunder, max health, weapon and spell damage, offensive pen, dealing direct damage to a target within 10 meters. This is going to be all the time. You just throw, it's on the back bar, by the way. It's only on our dual wield bar. It'll deal almost 2,200 every second in a cone in front of you, and that could crit as well every 10 seconds. So basically it lasts for 5, it'll be down for 5, up for 5. There, I just did a light attack, and you'll see they're all getting that cone. It's critting on some of them as well. It wasn't buffed there, but yeah. So as soon as you switch to your back bar or your dual wield bar and you throw a light attack or a heavy attack, which we do to throw them off balance as a DK. And why do we want them off balance? Because we want to use that whip and get the special whip that heals us more tremendously and deals more damage. But to pick up where we left off, we'll get into the skills later, but finishing up the gear, Winterborn, you see the pendant, I got infused just for extra stam recovery, Swift for more speed, and there's a Max Magicka Auroran's Ring. You could have these however you want. They're all light pieces, you know, so mix and match. Just 5 pieces of Winterborn on your body at all times, and then a back bar, dual wield bar of Auroran's Thunder. You could even do sword and board if you want, but I have dual wield for the double glyph, which one has disease, one has poison. And if you see, whenever I hit these guys, the status effect bars above, you'll see some hemorrhaging, but you'll also see, usually with one hit, poison and disease proccing on them. So just 2 more elements. They see above the skull. Now, with an infused trait on both of those, we're going to get those to fire off every 2.5 seconds versus every 5. You know, and they're not 100% guaranteed to proc the status effect with those glyphs, but there's a higher likeliness, and when you get them to cool down more, you know, you could fire them off quicker. Now, if you wanted to guarantee, almost guarantee the status effect, you could use charged on both of these. It would bring it up to an 80% chance for these status effects to be inflicted, but then you'd only get them to fire off every 5 seconds. Again, I wanted them every 2.5 seconds. When I throw that heavy attack, it's almost always ready with the off balance and with the whip that follows. So just a lot going on with the status effects there, including, like I said, the bleed. So you have diseased, poison, bleed, burning, concussed, and chilled. Some options for the front bar and for this build, you can use, instead of Vatishran, Black Rose. You'll use Impulse, and basically you get a flame, frost, and shock dot on everybody in the area that lasts for 8 seconds. So that's something that, you know, is an option. You could use, maybe get rid of Winterborn if you wanted to, and use Kalurion's. Kalurion's lightning staff, you know, sends out a flame, frost, shock, or diseased orb. Elfbane is great on DKs with the corrosive. I ran that for a while just to check it out. You know, you get a like an 18-second corrosive, which is insane. Or you could do front bar of Winterborn versus having the Vatishran, and then you could wear a trainee piece and a mythic. Or you could use Asylum if you don't want to use the Vatishran. We're already using Force Shock, Force Pulse. You could throw this in there and every second one is going to inflict them with the status effect Flame, Frost, and Shock. But I was planning on using the Breach anyway through elemental susceptibility, so might as well use the Vatishran, get that tether, and get all 3 of those elements, and I like the look of it. So you put all this together, again, we didn't run through skills yet, but you put all the gear and set combos together, and you've just got all 3 elements constantly, dots, direct damage, area of effects. It's just insane, and like I said, it looks awesome as well, but it is very effective. It can look great, but if it sucks, I'm not gonna, well, I might run it for a while. I might try to force it. I've done that before, which the build I'm on now, by the way, that's in the background, not this one, but the one I'm working on, has been very, very, very painful to get just right. I almost checked it out a few times. I'm gonna save it for next year. It's the next build I'm releasing. I finally got it where it needs to be, but I drove myself crazy with it. But anyway, yeah, you can move stuff around a little bit, like I just showed a second ago. You can use Streak, if, you know, take off the susceptibility and put on Streak there if you want to have a little more mobility, or put on like Race Against Time or something to free you up from CCs and give you some of that major expedition. But just to kind of display once more everything, how it looks here with the whip, and the whip right there, look at that, is AoE. Just insane. Just insane, I love it. So while I'm putting things back the way they were, one thing I didn't mention as well that you could do in place of elemental susceptibility is use the Psijic skill line elemental weapon, or I think crushing weapon, and you could weave that for the Breach and get a physical damage proc, which could obviously lead to Sundered, another status effect, but I would only do that if you're not using Vatishran. Maybe you put on you know, Asylum or something, so you can still get Breach and a random element. Let's jump into the skills now. On our stats bar, we've got Crushing Shock. We've already talked a great deal about this one. Flame, Frost, and Shock damage, all delivered simultaneously, but also interrupts and sets off balance if they're casting. You could use the other more Force Pulse if you want some of that AoE damage around the target to anybody that might have a status effect. But I like the Crushing Shock for interrupt. You know, it's especially having a ranged interrupt. If someone's doing Jesus Beam V or something, it's great to have. The next skill, Cauterize. Every 3 seconds, a heal for almost 3,600 health. Again, it could crit, but just having this slotted is going to give us Major Prophecy and Savagery for our crit. You could switch this to the damage morph, but I wanted to heal, a little bit of utility there as well. Heals allies, a passive heal. This combines with the Orc passive heal every 4 seconds, crit surge, which we'll get to. Anyway, element of susceptibility, we've talked about this one already as well. Pretty in depth with the Vatishran. Major Breach, almost 6,000 resistance carving off of them, and then every 7.5 seconds they get the chilled, concussed, and burning status effects. This skill is used with our Vatishran staff to create that tether. Next skill, Mage's Wrath. It's a finisher. Not a whole lot of damage up front, but if they're down below 20% health, there's a lot of damage. Delivers that damage to them and all nearby targets. It is shock, so it can proc the Alambris, as the Alambris conditions are to deal damage with shock or flame. But yeah, weaving that and then hitting him with the Force Pulse, delivering Winterborn, which by the way is one of the best, I didn't get to tell you this earlier, one of the best burst. You know, the burst just shows up with Force Pulse as its own damage and all around the target. I love Winterborn. All right, crit surge, Major Brutality and Sorcery, and then of course you get the heal every second, 3,300 plus every second as long as you're dealing crit hits. That's why our crit was over 40%, it was like 44%. You could take that even further, I guess, if you wanted to get above 50, but constant heal there. And then the ultimate Temporal Guard. While slotted, we get minor protection, okay, at all times, 5%. We get this Psijic passive shield here. When we block, it's like every 10 seconds, I think that shows up. It's not huge, it's like 5,000 or 6,000, but then you can rewind time, go back to where you were 4 seconds ago in location and with your resources. Say you had a lot of health and stamina, you dodge rolled a bunch, and now you rewind it, you get your resources back as well. Now on the dual wield we've got Burning Embers. dealing 4,100 flame damage up front, almost 12,000 flame damage over 10 seconds, but you heal initially off the first hit, and then 982 after each subsequent tick. And this scales off max health, but you can have multiple instances of this at the same time. So the damage it deals off of the left guy, the middle guy, and the right guy are all laid, but they're all independent, and I will get 3 different ticks of healing from that. So again, not just healing when I deal the damage, but also from the ticks of the dot afterward, helping to kind of keep continuously feed me healing. So that with Crit Surge, Cauterize, the Orc passive, and even the Whip, which deals damage and heals, the Fossilize deals damage and heals. Everything pretty much deals damage and heals except for Force Shock and Mage's Wrath. Okay, the next skill, Resolving Vigor. This is going to be our stamina heal, 17,000 health over 5 seconds, but also gives us Minor Resolve, Minor Ward, increasing our physical and spell resistance by 3,000. Got to have this option, to give yourself another heal over time. Cast it before you're doing some heavy combo. Sustain you through it. Next skill, Flame Lash, 8,200 flame damage, heals for 2,500. That's the basic. Once they're off balance, you get Power Lash for 20 seconds, 5 of them. 15,000 flame damage to all enemies in the area and heals for 10,000. Okay, that's insane. And then of course you get a damage done increase as a Dragon Knight. But you can't beat that skill. We use this as much as we can. Throw a heavy attack, knock them off balance, and that comes with right there, as you see, Mountain Giant. Fully charged heavy attack applies off balance. So we use that to throw him off balance and then immediately follow up with a whip. Right there, we'd hit him with the whip. And then now look, we got 5 stacks, and there's the additional, it's counting down to 2 stacks left, and it will last for 20 seconds. You have to use those or else they'll just fall off. So heavy attack, he's off balance. Now I used them, but look, I'm out of them. There is a cooldown. I have to do a heavy attack again, and then say this guy here, knock him off balance, and then he's off balance. Now whip. Now there, I got the 5 stacks again. So, but this is one of the most powerful skills in our toolkit here, is to just spam that. When you get those 5, you're best to use them. If they're falling off, like they've done to me before, just depending on what's going on, you're not doing a good job. Healing Soul, 11,000 healing to yourself. We got the class script on there for the extra weapon and spell damage, and then Major Resolve, Major Ward, increasing our physical and spell resistance by almost 6,000. So work this into a heal, a class buff, and our Major Resolve and Major Ward. The last skill, Shattering Rocks. I kept saying Fossilize, but Shattering Rocks reduce their movement speed, stuns them for 4 seconds, heals you, and then they take damage as well. And then of course they are inflicted with Minor Breach for 10 seconds. So that's where we're getting that Minor Breach to give us, the major and minor with what we already had going on. Like I said, they're sitting around 16,000, 17,000. So we try to use this as much as you can on enemies, but obviously once they get hit with it, there's a CC cooldown. If you miss that, you're just wasting resources, so try to keep track of that. Corrosive Armor is our ultimate. All incoming damage is limited to 6% of your max health. It deals 5,400 flame damage around you for 10 seconds. That's an awesome dot. But while it's active, all your direct damage attacks ignore the enemy's physical and spell resistance. So your Force Shock, your Winterborn, your Lava Whip, your heavy and light attacks, anything that's direct damage above the head is going to ignore physical and spell resistance. So we're already, like I said, about 16,000, 17,000, but it just takes you all the way. They might have 30,000 resistance or something like that, but you're carving through all of it. Let's jump into the CP distribution now. Starting with the blue tree, Fighting Finesse, critical damage and healing increased by 8%. That's a good one to have since we're sitting around 44%. Exploiter, 10% more damage to off-balance enemies. As you know, off-balance is part of our rotation. Hit them with that heavy attack and they're off-balance. Wrathful Strikes, just more damage on top of all of our damaging abilities. Usually this would be not applying to healing, but a lot of our damage turns into healing, so that's going to turn into healing as well. Untamed Aggression, 150 weapon and spell damage. This will show up on the stat screen. On the red tree, Boundless Vitality, 1400 max health. We try to stay around 30,000. This helps us get there. Fortified, additional 1731 physical and spell resistance. That helps damage mitigate. And then Rejuvenation, 90 health, magicka, and stamina recovery at all times. And then sustained by suffering, an additional 150 health, magicka, and stamina recovery while under the influence of alcohol, or negative effects, which is all the time. Well, that's going to wrap up the CP distribution and this build video, the Knight of Spellscar version 2.0. If you like this build video and you want to see more, head on over to my channel. I've got plenty of content on there, builds of all types, stamina-based, magicka-based, hybrid, tanks, healers, and damage dealers, anything you could think of. I try to stay out of the box. I try to avoid the meta. I try to defeat the meta. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Sometimes it does. But thanks for watching this video. Like I said, like, subscribe, share with your friends, drop a comment, let me know what you thought of this build and what you would do differently, and keep your eyes peeled. I've got a couple more videos on the way. They're already done. I just got to get my crazy ass to finish editing and put them out there on the shelf for you guys to see and enjoy. So thanks for watching, guys. Area of Effect, signing out.